So I lived in a haunted house for 4 years. Seriously, there were things that happened in that house that I will never forget. Now, some of this is going to be hard to believe, but it happened. Now, as we progress through the series, I'm going to do my best to explain to you what I believe was happening, and more importantly, how I dealt with it. So if this is right up your alley, get ready, because it's about to get weird.
Episode 2. The man ventures out.
Hey, so if you would, do me a big favor. If you're new here, please go back and watch episode 1. I'm going to have a link somewhere on the screen. And if it doesn't pop up, just go down to the description and click on episode 1. If not, you're going to be really confused. But hey, if you're up to date, let's keep going. So there I am, laying in bed. I heard the door handle. I heard the creak in the floor. And I am terrified. I can't move. I'm laying there and I'm just waiting. What's going to happen next? Now here's the deal. A lot of people think they're really brave, especially men, until they're in a situation that they can't control or can't understand. And that's where things tend to change. Now my kids think I'm the bravest person in the world, especially when I was telling them some of these stories. They're thinking, Dad, you're so brave you lived in this house by yourself. Now I don't know if it was necessarily bravery or maybe more stupidity. I think I'd probably lean more in that direction. But if I was completely honest, I'd say it was probably more of just stubbornness, determination to figure out what's real, what's not real. But through the eyes of a kid, it's a lot different, right? Kids don't understand the world the same way that adults understand the world. We've been here a little bit longer. Kids seem to get a little creeped out a lot easier. Dad! Dad! What's up, buddy? What's going on?
I've been yelling forever. Where have you been? What are you doing?
I was sleeping. It's 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, sorry.
It's fine, pal. What's up, man?
I heard a scary sound.
What did it sound like?
Oh, I don't remember.
That must have been terrifying.
It was.
Okay, well, if you happen to remember, can you just tell me what it sounded like?
No.
Why?
'Cause I don't want to scare myself.
That makes sense. Well, I got some good news.
You're gonna sleep with me?
Nah, bud, not at all. You basically become a ninja warrior at night.
Oh, that's awesome.
No, it's really not.
Oh, okay. Still think it's awesome. Ninja warrior.
What I was gonna say is it's just us in the house.
Oh, well, that's good news.
All right, so let's go back to sleep, okay?
Okay. Wait, Dad, look, listen, that's the sound. I'm hearing it.
Buddy, listen, that's just pipes in the walls.
Oh, well, okay, well, that's not scary. What's that?
So let's be honest. There's a lot in this world that we just can't explain, that we want to, that we try to. And I know maybe here in the first episode, you were probably somewhat skeptical, and there's nothing wrong with it. So I'm laying there in my bed, terrified. I have no idea what's going to happen. But then I heard the creak again, but it was almost like it was stepping off the creek. And I laid there for a bit, and it took me quite a while to get brave enough to finally get out of bed. I walked over to the edge of the door, and I stood there, and then I peeked around the corner. There was nothing there. I walked over in the kitchen, and I stepped on the creek a few times, of course, and I wiggled the door handle, and I'm thinking to myself, things just changed. See, before I wasn't as scared because I thought it was contained to that room. But now I had the realization that it's not contained to that room. It can go anywhere. There's nowhere safe in my house. So then my mindset changed a bit. No longer was I just trying to seek out if this stuff was real. I had reached the point now where I knew it was real. Now I'm thinking, I've got to be able to protect myself. I mean, what if this thing can hurt me? What if it can come after me? Now listen, I did tell you that I was going to explain to you what was happening and how I dealt with it, and I'm going to, but we got a little more to cover first, so stick with me. Now, before moving into this house, I did have some experiences I couldn't explain. For example, many years ago, my friends and I used to go looking for scary places all the time. Well, we went to one of these haunted churches. It was abandoned for many, many years. We've been in this church for a while and nothing was really happening, nothing supernatural at least. You know, I looked in a hole and I saw a skull and I started freaking out. Oh, it's just a raccoon skull. I climb up in the attic and I'm snooping around. Something hits my back. It was just a bat. I remember going around this place, and again, this is before I lived in the house. I just wanted to know if any of this stuff was real. Is there a supernatural world? Is any of this real? So me and my 2 friends are there, and we're a little disappointed, so we decide to pull a little prank. Well, I call a few friends of mine, and they knew that we went looking for this stuff often. And I made up some story. I said, hey, I came down here with so-and-so, and he had a family emergency and he had to leave. Can you come get me? Well, for whatever reason, they believed me. Now, the 2 friends I was actually with, we set up a couple of little pranks, and they shake the bushes and they slam a door inside. We kind of do these creepy things for 10 or 15 minutes. Well, then they jump in their truck and they take off. Now, my friends that came to get me, they were ticked. I'm trying to get them to cool down a little bit for freaking them out. And we stand there for a while and we're talking, and they're threatening to leave me there, which I don't blame them. But then something happened that I can't explain. One of my friends looks over and says, okay, who's still in there? Now, when he says this, I didn't know what to think because I knew nobody else was in there. I look over, there were 2 red eyes looking in between these boards. This place has been boarded up for a long time. I look over and I see these red eyes staring at us, and I'm telling them, I'm insisting nobody else is in there. But of course, they don't believe me. I just pull a prank on them. Why would they believe me? So we're standing there staring at these eyes, and they go down behind some boards, disappear. Go behind some boards, disappear. Then we see them one last time before they reach the last board. Next thing you know, the next window over, which is pretty far, the eyes appear in between the boards. We all flip out. We race home, and I'm sitting there in the back of the truck. I couldn't ride in the truck. There wasn't room for me. I'm sitting there in the back of the truck by myself, staring at the road, expecting something to come running out of the woods chasing me. I didn't know what to expect. Now, going back to the house. So there were weird things that were happening, but I knew whatever had a hold of this house that I was living in, that this thing didn't like me very much. So this is back in 2003. We didn't have smartphones. I didn't have a computer. I think I had maybe this is when the Razors came out. I can't remember where they flipped and you could play Snake, that little game where you just went around like a little black snake and you couldn't touch your own tail or something like that. I mean, that's pretty much the extent of technology I had at the time. That's back when we had a PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 2s were a cheap DVD player. What? So I start doing some research, and I do some research the only way I really know how. Reading books, staying up late watching Discovery Channel, watching History Channel, watching all this stuff about aliens and supernatural events. And like a dum-dum, I, for some reason, started watching horror movies. Like The Ring, The Grudge. Now, most people would just say, yeah, I've seen those movies. They're just creepy, weird stuff. But when you're living in the midst of something so scary that you can't understand, watching those kind of movies makes you so paranoid. I couldn't sleep. I could barely be in my own house at night. During the day, it wasn't so bad. But for some reason, I was really determined to figure out what was going on. Now, after watching some shows, reading some books, watching some movies, I'm still having some experiences, but then I start communicating with this thing. I'm trying to get it to talk back to me, or, hey, if you're here or you're real, knock that plate off the table or something. I was trying to get it to interact with me. Here's where it gets really interesting. It started to, but what makes it really scary is how fast it escalated. For whatever reason, I decided to start sleeping in the middle room again. I was terrified, but I was also determined to figure out what this was. But what I'm about to tell you is going to be extremely hard to believe. I'm just going to put that out there right at the beginning. It's going to be extremely hard to believe. One night, I'm laying in the bed. It wasn't late. I think I had a headache. I used to deal with migraines a lot. And I was laying in the bed. I still had my kitchen light on. It was kind of dark in the bedroom, but I was laying there and I'm just listening. And I'm laying there in the dark. And then what I heard next scared me beyond belief. I'm laying in the bedroom and I hear from the living room a man say, "We have to find him now." Has anything like this ever happened to you before? Well, if so, let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. And do you know anybody else who would like to hear this story or maybe has their own story? If you would, share it with them. I'd love to hear their story too. And of course, if you don't mind, if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. I got a lot more coming. And trust me, it just gets weirder. I'll see you next time.